So basically, they want to kill all the seniors, Dana.
Fox News is reporting that nationwide rent control would be bad for landlords, bad for Granny, and too progressive, but its audience doesn't seem to feel the same way. I'm Yasmin Khan with the breakdown, and usually when we cover a story like this, we'd maybe talk about how wanting to curb price gouging in the real estate market isn't actually as progressive and far left as Fox News would have you believe.
It's all about supply and demand. It's not about price gouging.
Or perhaps we check in to see what BlackRock's up to and how their efforts to purchase and build investment properties with the alleged philanthropic intention of creating more homes for people are actually negatively impacting the rental market. Maybe we'd even talk about capitalism in the broad sense, discussing how the free market isn't actually free when you have unchecked market manipulation and a lack of oversight.
I don't like the federal government getting involved in this. I don't like anyone getting involved in this. I believe in free enterprise here, and the cost of rent should depend upon the area and what people are willing to pay.
But there's something else about this video that stood out to me. It was the comment section, and admittedly, I don't delve into comment sections too often. I still can't decide if comment sections were a plus or a minus for humanity when they were first introduced, but this particular comment section was actually pleasantly surprising for me in that it confirmed what a lot of progressives have believed for a long time, that Americans really shouldn't be as divided as we are, considering the fact that across the political spectrum, we all tend to deal with similar issues. In this case, we're talking about exorbitant, inflated rental prices across the country.
I think the key word in rent control is control. Right? It's always going to be about controlling something.
In the Fox News clip, the host tried to argue that imposing any kind of rent control, in other words, placing limitations on how often and by how much landlords can raise the rent on their properties, is anti-capitalist and anti-landlord. The landlords have suffered enough, they say, which is an interesting take for a number of reasons.
The landlords took a beating during the pandemic. They took a beating. They had tenants, many of whom were capable of paying, but who refused to pay because they knew that they had the upper hand.
They also make the argument that many elderly Americans earn incomes from collecting rent. So if rent control becomes a thing, Joe Biden and his progressive congressional cohorts, quote,
"It's funny, Granny off the cliff."
So no one's saying that Granny can't keep collecting her rent. And no one is even saying that she can't raise the rent on her properties over time. There will just be limits put in place to protect the renters and preserve some part of the housing market. Of course, it's not really Granny that people are worried about. Investment firms are scooping up properties before actual people can, and it's not really a secret that this is happening. It's been happening for years. Sure, things like Airbnb and other short-term rentals don't help, and they have been shown to negatively impact housing markets in cities around the world, but even those aren't as bad as big bad investors like BlackRock, which not only buy properties, but they have unprecedented levels of influence over the housing market. Now, that's actually a pretty complex topic in and of itself, so I won't get into it now, but it's worth looking into on your own. BlackRock, by the way, owns significant portions of several mainstream media outlets on both the left and the right, including Fox News. But look at this tweet from JD Vance from 2021. Now, there's some debate on the actual content of the tweet Vance is responding to, but I want to just look at his response. He's concerned that BlackRock's investment strategy in the housing market will preclude young Americans from purchasing homes. He then goes on to say that the left will ignore this because BlackRock is supportive of ESGs, or the rating scale that basically indicates whether or not companies are operating ethically and consciously. But no, the left is not ignoring this, and ESGs are a whole topic on their own. They're unstandardized scores issued to companies by third parties in the interest of helping consumers and investors make more ethical decisions when deciding where they want to put their money. The right doesn't like them because they argue that these scores are pandering to a woke agenda and that they can negatively impact the value of a business. Really, they don't do anything more than, say, a tweet from Elon Musk as far as affecting markets and values. They still operate within the realm of the free market, but that said, they're not a perfect metric. People on the left, including myself, still have issues with them. Personally, I wouldn't assume that the entire left would ignore something that inherently feels like a leftist working class concern in an effort to instead defend something like an ESG score. No, what's happening with the housing market might be something that the left and the right can actually agree on. And if you look at the comment section on the Fox News clip, many of the commenters are disagreeing with the hosts. Maybe some of them have different ideas about how we got to this point and who's to blame for what specifically, but the general consensus is that the rent actually is out of control. The rent is too damn high. People can't afford housing in this country, and it's affecting everyday working class Americans regardless of whether or not they vote Democrat or Republican. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like and subscribe, and be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you.